It's very important in any of these arrangements that the people harvesting the animals don't have any say whatsoever in determining the quota. The quota must be determined by transparent, legitimate methodologies in a hands-off way so that the wildlife agency has responsibility for maintaining the security of the wildlife, conducts the surveys and sets the quota.
I don't know how you're going to stop the recreational hunters, but we certainly should look at them with different eyes. And are we actually, when they take their little sons out with them shooting ducks or any other defenseless animals, how do we know the reaction this will have in this child's brain? And they think it's okay to shoot an animal, and it's okay to be brutal to an animal. And then maybe one day they grow up to be wife beaters, wife bashers, murderers, who knows? You just don't know, but you don't play around with that sort of thing.
Roost shooters are not bad as what they're made out to be. And, I've got a lot of mates that are roost shooters and they're just the same as me. We're just doing a job and hopefully pleasing people and, not putting so much harm on the outback.
And it doesn't lead to criminal behaviour, and I can't work out, there is just no way that it does. These blokes are in it for a job. It's, it'd be like saying that all bankers are chance of being in fraud.
I believe that if animals are being shot and presented and people haven't got permits, or they know the animal's being taken outside the guidelines, then don't buy the animal. Don't allow it to go to the commercial market. And I believe as an industry that most of us are proactively trying to make sure things like that happen. But to say that I can guarantee it would be absolutely foolish.
I think most illegal harvest is probably done by people shooting kangaroos on their properties just as a pest, shooting them and letting them lie, and also shooting kangaroos to get dog meat. Now some of that is permitted and there are concerns and regulations about the way in which the animals must be shot and so on.
There are certain conservation groups that I don't believe we will ever be able to please, but they aren't perhaps the genuine conservation groups that are there to have that middle ground either. The Vivas and the Peters of this world are against eating meat. That's their basic ethos, is that anything that's an animal that has to be destroyed for people to eat, they're against it. So I don't believe the kangaroo industry will ever meet their requirements. We certainly need to hear their concerns though, and we certainly have to react accordingly to the concerns they have. Everyone is allowed their opinion.
A lot of people are opposed to shooting kangaroos because they have animal welfare concerns, but of course the paddock slaughter of an animal unaware of danger is probably the most humane way that you can imagine any animal dying. So I think that argument simply just doesn't stand up. And of course there are a lot of people who simply don't think it's right to harvest kangaroos because they're such beautiful animals and they're Australia's national icon, national symbol. But of course the Scots seem to be quite relaxed at harvesting deer, and the French are fairly relaxed about eating coq au vin when they've got the rooster as the national symbol. So a lot of these points of view of course are driven by ideas that people get over the years and stories that are written. Bambi the deer, I think, had a big influence on the way people think about eating venison. Skippy the kangaroo had a big influence on the way people think about eating kangaroo. But of course those are stories that very much anthropomorphise deer or kangaroos, and I think it's important to be realistic about these things.
The brutality and cruelty is the reality of commercial kangaroo killing in Australia. Nothing can change it. There is nothing they can do about it. And the industry hides behind propaganda. And for years they have had this sustained program of misinformation and propaganda to keep the Australian people in the dark. They don't want the Australians to know what really goes on. So they couch it in terms like, they don't call it shooting, they call it harvesting. And they call the shooters by some other name, something field harvesters.
Well, it is only a term they use for killing, and to be honest, we call them roost shooters. We don't call them harvesters. And I don't. Yeah, I think just say it like it is. They're roost shooters.
They need to do something else to make a living. There are plenty of other things they can do, but they shouldn't keep doing the dreadful things they're doing.